Shut up and sit down.
What is going on, dads, and welcome to another special bonus episode of the Dads After Dark show, recorded on Thursday, July 23rd, 2020. I'm John, and I'll be your host tonight, along with two special guests, Bryan and Nick. And thank you for joining us tonight for some not Nintendo, but Xbox. Hey guys, welcome to our second bonus episode. Bryan, you're coming back after the PS5. How you doing?
Absolutely. Thank you, John, for having me back. It's an honor. Doing great. I've got my beer by my side, ready to talk about some Xbox. I had a half day of work today. I took off so I could come home and check out the showcase and write some notes so we can talk to you guys tonight.
Oh, man, I should have had a beer for this one because I'm going to need a beer for this episode. Nick. So we traded in one of our Dad Crossing hosts for the other Dad Crossing host. Welcome aboard, Nick.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Dan was here for the PlayStation, and I took his spot. I have my iced tea, which is my drink of choice, and so I'm cozied in for this one too, with a pile of notes and ready to excited to get into this Xbox Series X stuff.
And I have a watermelon Waterloo water. So I think we're all ready to go. So before we get started, this is something that we did last time. I want to do it again. Since we're, a Nintendo podcast, I think I would like to let people know, like, what your Xbox history is, where you're coming from. None of us are, decades-long Xbox junkies. We dabble. So we'll start with you, Nick. What's your Xbox history? What's your interest in Series X? Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so I had the OG Xbox, picked that up in college, and even though I'm a Nintendo boy, Xbox holds my heart when it comes to multiplayer stories, or multiplayer just times. We would run a LAN cable or Ethernet cable from dorm room to dorm room.
Oh my gosh.
And play Halo parties, and it was by far, it is the memory I have the most that I love of multiplayer video gaming. So I had the OG, loved it. I bought the 360, and then I had a good time with it. I had 4 of them, which Microsoft kindly gave me 3 of them thanks to the Red Ring of Death.
Oh my gosh.
And so that, and I can't blame it all on that. I just was in that time of life, where you getting married and not sure where video games really land anymore. And so all those things kind of piled together, plus all of the frustrations with the hardware. I just never picked up the Series S, the Xbox One. But here I am. I have been deep in the Switch since its launch, and I'm kind of looking for another console. So I'm thinking maybe the Series, it's time to jump back in. That's where I'm at.
Nice. Cool. Where'd you go to school?
I went to Huntington University in Indiana.
Oh, nice. Yeah, some of my first time at school, I was in a dorm room and we had Ethernet built in, and it was fairly new, and that was when I first started doing lots of PC gaming. We had so much fun. It was like a gaming floor, a PC computer science floor. So it was just full of nerds. We had such a fun time. Played Worms and Warcraft and Doom and all that. It's some of the best memories.
Yeah, those are great.
Can't get enough. All right, Bryan, let's hear it. What is your Xbox history?
Yeah, so my history does not begin with the original Xbox. That one came out during a time when I really had a lull in my gaming hobby. I still gamed a little bit, mostly on Nintendo platforms, but it was more passive. I didn't really have my finger on the pulse of the industry, so I kind of missed that entire generation. But then the 360 released, and that was kind of right in the middle of my college years. And even at the release of that one, I didn't know much about it or see myself getting one, mainly because, I didn't have much income to pour into gaming at the time, being a college student. So, but shortly after graduating, I started my first professional job in the field of IT. I made some new friends at work who were all into gaming and Xbox specifically, and they quickly became some of my closest friends today. And one of those guys introduced me to the Xbox 360 and two specific games, Halo 3 and Forza Motorsport 2. And so, this was the first time I really got to see what that console could do up close and play it firsthand. So I was like floored by what they were able to achieve with the racing simulation in Forza Motorsport 2 and the first-person shooter of Halo 3 with its multiplayer aspects. Halo 3 was introduced kind of a new type of play for first-person shooters with the dual sticks, where you move a character with one stick and move the camera with the other, which for me, that was a huge shift away from the last first-person shooter I was into, which was like GoldenEye on the N64.
Oh, right.
So it was a massive shift in how you play those types of games, and it was just an eye-opening experience to see these games in high definition for the first time, which I was not accustomed to yet. So, shortly after that weekend of playing those games with my friends, I was like, I have to go out and get an Xbox 360 of my own. And in 2009, that's when I purchased my own.
Cool. Awesome. That's going to be very similar to my story. So for me, I grew up at a time where I hated Microsoft, right? I was a software developer. My entire career, I have spent not being a software developer for Microsoft platforms. And, I was one of those nerds that just hated Microsoft. So when the Xbox was coming out, I was like, I'm not fucking getting that thing. And so the Xbox One was something I never had interest in. And I remember being a little upset. I think this was that time frame when they bought Bungie, because Bungie had made a game called Myth that I really liked. And I was upset that they had bought Bungie. Because I was like, oh, I can't get Myth, So the 360 came out, and that was the first time I recognized what kind of platform that Xbox was. And the thing that really attracted to me wasn't like Halo or anything. It was all the arcade games that were going there. I don't know if I would call it the indie market quite yet, but like you started seeing like Geometry Wars, and then like, Super Meat Boy, and a lot of these games, these smaller games that I was like really interested in. And at some point we went to one of those like video game, what do they call those places where like my nephew would have birthday parties, and they just had a bunch of Xboxes set up. And we played Castle Crashers. Yeah. And my son was fairly young, and like at that time all the other kids were playing Call of Duty and whatever, and we were playing Castle Crashers, and he really liked it. So this is like 5 years ago or so. I said to my kid, I go, if you could have any console in your room, what would it be? And I was kind of like thinking he's going to say Wii or whatever. And he said Xbox 360. Like my heart just broke. I was like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah, I want to play Castle Crashers. And I was like, oh. So being the good dad that I am, I actually went out and bought a used 360 on Craigslist. And of course and they were really cheap. Of course, the one I bought didn't last very long. It had some hard drive issues and whatever. So then I bought another one. I think I got the Elite, the black one. And I still have that to this day. So I got Castle Crashers. I got some other games on there. Pac-Man Championship Edition, like all those games. I have an appreciation for the 360. I don't play it very much, but I did like some of those digital games. And I didn't get an Xbox One X. In fact, I've spent many years laughing at how poorly they did in this generation. They got throttled by PS4, and then they got throttled by the Switch, even though the Switch came out 3.5 years later. But I bought my Xbox One X, as you know, about a month and a week ago, and I love it. Game Pass, really. Sweet. Game Pass just sold it for me. If there was no Game Pass, I would not have bought an Xbox. I got the Cyberpunk branded one just because it looked so freaking cool. And I got Game Pass, and I literally don't own any games for it at all. It's kind of weird. Like, I literally don't own anything, and I'm paying $10 a month for Game Pass. and I've played through Rime. I started Nier Automata. I didn't like it. And then played through Ori and the Will of the Wisp, which is my game of the year now. And yeah, I love it. As soon as I get it back from my wife, who's playing through Ori right now upstairs, I have a bunch of little games I'm going to be playing on it, and it's cool. I can play some crosscode, don't have to pay for it. The Gardens Between, don't have to pay for it. I mean, there's just a bunch of that stuff to play. So,
I mean, isn't that so cool though? Like the fact that even if you don't enjoy any of those experiences, the fact that you got to just download them in their entirety and try them for as little or as much as you liked, and then toss it in the garbage bin when you're done.
Yeah, I really thought I would like Nier, and it just never gripped me. And I'm a Platinum kid. I love Platinum. But yeah, it didn't. Some of the first-person games too, I get a little ill on. And so those are nice to be able to try. Like maybe I'll like this one or what. I tried Alien Isolation and I got really sick, so that didn't work out. But I really love the Game Pass stuff. I'm part of, like, you and I have been chatting a lot about, what's coming out. You mentioned The Tourist is coming out like next week, and that was a game I really wanted to play on the Switch. And now it's like, okay, I'll just play that one on my Xbox One for free. And it's. I mean, Game Pass really pays for itself. $10 a month.
It absolutely does.
My gosh, you're going to go through at least 2 or 3 games a month anyway. So, yeah, pretty cool. So I'm interested in the Xbox One Series X just because I love the Game Pass. And I just want to see if I want to play some of these next-gen games and when. So, yeah. So let's get to it. Today was the reason why we're doing this episode is today was I think the official coming out party for the Series X. This was like a lot of the first party titles, a lot of the real AAA games were being announced today by Microsoft, and people were really like super stoked up for this. I saw in like all the Discords, everyone was really excited for it. So it was really cool because we haven't gotten a ton of like video gaming news, especially since the PS5. So they did their announcements today. But the funny thing is there was actually some announcements that weren't part of the showcase that came out this morning. And so before we get into the showcase, let's get into some of these announcements. And some people missed a lot of these. But there's some interesting games here. So the first one on the list is, and I was really excited about this, Dragon Quest XI-S Echoes of an Elusive Age is coming not only to Xbox, but it is coming to Game Pass. This game had previously not been on Xbox at all, and now you'll get it free. Got to wait till December 4th. I'm not sure why it's waiting so long, but I guess they're still working on it. So really excited. Have any of you guys played this one?
No, I did not.
I can tell because nobody wanted to talk about it. I played it. I played 90 hours of this on the Switch, and it is one of the best RPGs that I have played. It is so good. The characters are great. It's so colorful. It's not one of those dark games. And even when you roll credits on it, I mean, that was like 2/3 of the way through. And you don't have to continue, but there's so much more content. The side quests are interesting. Such a great game. I can't recommend it enough on the Switch. It's a great game to play on the Switch because it's a lot of hours. I'm not going to play it on the Xbox. It's just not a game I'm going to play through a second time. But very exciting that it's coming to Game Pass, and hopefully people who have Game Pass who haven't played it yet, you should definitely give this a shot. December 4th. It's a great game.
I definitely will give that a shot. I love Square Enix and I love RPGs, and so I just haven't had a chance to play it yet. But now that it's coming there, I've got no excuse.
Yeah.
So was the Switch one a definitive edition too, or is this?
I was just gonna say that the one on Switch was the definitive edition. There's a bunch of extra content, and they made a lot of quality of life changes. And up until December 4th, it's the only system that has it, and so it will be on Xbox. Then there are some quality of life things that when you read about it, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine playing this game without that. So, definitely worth playing it. Next one, Exomecha. This one is like a mech game. I think this was the best trailer of the whole day. What did you guys think of this one?
I liked it. I didn't see it until you showed it to me. Again, it was that early drop before the actual show. But just seeing the trailer, I would definitely give it a shot. I mean, mechs are cool, and it was really well done. Lots of flying and planes to get into and other, stuff.
Yeah, and it was the best trailer. Like, it was exciting and whatever. And we'll get into it later. Halo should have taken a note from it.
Yeah, like Nick, I didn't get to see this until you linked us just before we started recording the show tonight. But one of the things that stood out, and I'm sure we'll talk about this some when we get to the the games lineup that was in the show today. But I didn't feel like there was a whole lot of games shown today that really pushed the envelope as far as graphical content. I don't think the leap is as big as it was in previous generations. But this one actually, it just had some kind of certain pop to it that with the colors and the design of everything, it looked incredible. So definitely interested to give that a shot when it comes out.
Yeah, this one's supposed to come out late 2021, so we'll have to wait a little bit, but not too long. We also saw Watchdog Legions from Ubisoft. Okay. The next one, I kind of stole, of all the games today, stole the show for me. Echo Generation, by a company I've never heard of, Cocoa Cucumber. I've never heard of them.
I've not heard of them either.
Yeah. So this one, it looks like it's an Xbox exclusive. It's going to be on Xbox and PC. Definitely will remind you. It's a 3D game, but it'll remind you of Earthbound. It looks like turn-based combat. Just kind of walking around on what looks like a planet Earth, not like some universe somewhere. I think of all the games I've seen today, this is the one that I'm like, I would be the most excited to play. Really excited about that one. I don't know why this wasn't in the showcase, if they had to pay to play or anything like that. But I really wish they would have thrown this one in the showcase. I don't know. I'm really excited about that one. So yeah, let's do it. And then we had Hello Neighbor 2. Nick, you've played Hello Neighbor, correct?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the first one on the Switch. I played that with a friend, and we just really enjoyed trying to not be caught by the guy. And it's just, although there's little scare jumps and stuff like that. Although this one, I don't know, the guy you're trying to stay away from is some kind of bird man, which seems really weird because there were no there were no animals in Hello Neighbor. So very interested to see what this guy has, this gigantic beak. So if you're interested, take a look at it. But it has all the other gameplay mechanics of Hello Neighbor. So I'd definitely give it a shot if it was on Game Pass.
You know what he looked like? He looked like one of the Spy vs. Spy guys.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe it is. Maybe that's the twist. Would you... you played the Switch version, and you mentioned kind of it was a little glitchy, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Would you if you knew you were going to get a Series X, would you just wait and play it on the Xbox, or would you play this on the Switch?
No, I would probably any game that any game that's on both that I would normally play on the couch, and I would really recommend playing these games with a friend. It's a single player game, but playing with a friend is so much more fun. I mean, than playing by yourself. So yeah, I normally would play it on the couch. So sure, I would definitely wait for the Xbox.
Okay, yeah, share the terror together.
Yep.
All right, and then the last of the pre-announcements, Balan Wonderworld, which has a title you might not even care about, but Square Enix is involved in this one. I would have expected more. When I saw this had been announced and I saw Square Enix, and they're one of my favorite developers, I went to look at the trailer and I was like, ooh, maybe this will be another game I'm hyped for. I don't know. It didn't really do it for me. I wouldn't play a game like this. It just had a weird art style to it. I'll keep my eye on it, maybe see some reviews, because I think you can never go wrong with a Square Enix type game. But yeah, that's coming out spring 2021, so you'll probably see it pretty soon after the Xbox comes out. But yeah.
Speaking of Square Enix and titles you may not care about, I'll just say Octopath Traveler.
What about Octopath?
It's a wonderful game. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying the titles is not very good.
Oh, okay. I was like, really?
No. I love the game. In fact, I'm still playing through it. I think I have 110 hours currently put into it.
I loved it. I loved that game.
Yeah,
it was good.
I would love to replay that, actually. All right, so let's get to the showcase now. Set the scene here. I was working today, and I needed to do my daily elliptical for 20 minutes. And I was like, you know what? Instead of watching a Forensic Files on the elliptical, I'm gonna watch the beginning of this Xbox showcase. So I brought my iPad downstairs, and I'm all excited. The countdown's going on, and for seemingly the entire time I was exercising, it was all Halo. Halo Infinite was the first game that got announced. Well, we knew about it, but the first game, this was the big reveal of Halo Infinite. I have never played Halo myself, but what did you guys think of it? Brian, what did you think of not only like what you saw, but like how they presented it?
Well, I mean, it was exciting to see gameplay, right, and not just some more CG footage.
Yes.
And that's like really what they gave us on the majority of that time. It was pretty much just, here's about 15 minutes of this is what the game is going to play like. I mean, despite a little bit of a cinematic opening, kind of setting the stage for where they enter into. But then, he exits the crashed airship, and you're in this open, very open map that, is pretty or more open than any other Halo game has ever been. And they gave some details about that later, saying that, this is going to be very much more of an exploratory experience with a map that you open up and find waypoints and objective points that you have to go to and that sort of thing. So I think they also said that this one is going to be bigger than the last two Halo games combined. So, they're painting this picture that it's going to be a very massive world for us to explore, which that really excites me. I love exploring in games, but it was just really exciting. They open up by showing the manufacturing of the Mjolnir exosuit that Master Chief wears. And then, they show one thing that stood out to me. They show this text on the screen that says press menu to start the demo. And that just kind of made me think, hey, are we going to get a public demo soon? Maybe
Yes.
before the release and holiday. So that's kind of got me hyped that, maybe in the next month or two, we might get a little demo teaser that we can download and play beforehand. So that's exciting to think about. But, and then, like, another thing that stood out to me, one of the first things that Master Chief does is, after taking out a few enemies, is he finds the Warthog, which is the iconic four-wheeled all-terrain vehicle that you get to drive throughout a lot of the levels. And when he gets in that vehicle and starts it up, you hear a roar, the rumble of the engine that you don't hear in any other Halo game. It's like, and me being, coming from a fan of racing games, and like I was talking about the Forza Motorsport series, I really enjoy cars and car games and the sounds that the realistic sounds that they're able to reproduce in those games. And to hear that roar come out of the Warthog, it just it sent chills down my spine, because I'm like, wow, they've really improved the sound quality of this thing. So that was really cool to see how they're pushing that forward. And then, we see these kind of glimpses into some new features or tools that Master Chief is going to be able to utilize, like a grappling hook that we've never seen in the series before. And not only, a grappling hook used for one function, but they showed it used in a variety of ways, where you can hook into an enemy, pull yourself to them, and then do like a melee hit kill, or grapple an explosive barrel and then use that barrel to throw it at a group of enemies and take those guys out, or even traversing the map, hook onto a ledge that's higher than you and pull yourself up. So it was really neat to see all the varied ways that you'll be able to use these new tools that Chief has. So I am very, very excited for Halo Infinite.
And this is going to be a launch title too, and I think they're doing a great job launching. I think everyone's learning their lessons over the years, and we definitely saw with Breath of the Wild, where you need a big launch title to get people to commit. So that's really cool to see. What about you, Nick? What did you think?
I thought it was great, and I will second the sound for sure. Even when the Warthog, I noticed it immediately when the ship crashes and he steps out into that forest. you can hear the sounds. Like that's the first thing I noticed. I was like, there were the birds chirping and everything, and it's really kind of interesting how it goes from this quaint forest, and then all of a sudden it just like he steps into this war zone, and I actually really liked how, and I know I'll be interested to hear your side of this, John, because I actually really liked how they did gameplay from the get-go for I don't know how long. 15 minutes sounds about right. I mean, but the way they he wasn't just walking around with one weapon shooting. I mean, man, he did so good to go from like weapon to weapon to vehicle to weapon to new vehicle to here's how you can use the grappling hook. And so you got to see so much stuff, but you got to see it all in gameplay. And I really appreciated that. And so, yeah, and like I said, it's been a while since the 360, since I've had an Xbox, and man, I just forgot how much fun, like just watching that, I was like, I want to do that. It's been so long since I've played a good Halo game. I'm in on that. So yeah, I'm pumped. Cool. I'm with Brian.
I've never played a Halo game, and it did look interesting. Like I almost wanted to play it. I don't usually play first-person shooters, but I had a quick question before remember in the cutscene when the plane crashes, right? And the Halo dude, that wasn't Master Chief, right? That's just you, right? Like
you're the guy in the green armor,
right? Yes.
No, that's Master Chief.
Oh, that is Master Chief. Are you Master Chief?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So how come when the plane crashes, he's just standing up with like his hand casually on a seat, and he doesn't like fly? The guy who's flying is like, whoa, because the crash, and he's just kind of standing there like nothing happened.
I'm gonna blame it on the exosuit.
Okay.
That thing makes him, or partially gives him his superhuman abilities. The Spartans are a genetically engineered
I see
subspecies, if you will. I mean, they're humans, but anyway, yeah, they've been genetically altered to be superior in strength and height and jumping and everything. So, but the suit also plays a part in those abilities as well.
Oh. All right, yeah. Spare me my obvious Halo
sure
newness. Yeah, because it just looked weird. I was like, that wasn't very realistic. He didn't even move. I kind of evolved on the whole demo thing. I actually joked on Twitter. I was like, hey, I stumbled onto somebody's like Halo Let's Play. Does anyone know where the showcase is? And I thought it was a really weird way to start it off. I thought a Halo trailer with all the big, ba-booms, like was what you needed to do. And like, that's why I said, like with Exomecha, like that's what I thought a Halo trailer should have been.
Mm-hmm.
But over the day, I sort of evolved on it because like you said, it was refreshing to see gameplay. We didn't really see much gameplay at all when we see most trailers. And we didn't see much gameplay out of PS5. And it was really nice to see gameplay. And it was just a calm, here's what the beginning of the game is. And it has an effect on me because I kind of see this Halo Infinite as like, wow, they're really accentuating the campaign. This isn't just like a multiplayer battle. And it looked like a very big open world, and it looked like it could be fun. So I did evolve on it. I still think it was a weird way to open, but I do appreciate that they did show that gameplay. And like you said, it was obviously a very well rehearsed. Whoever did the demo was really good. Their aim was really good. They've played these games a lot. And like you said, they were going from weapon to weapon. They were really showing off everything. It wasn't just like them and their own interpretation of how to play.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they did a really good job with it. So yeah, that was cool to see. Next game was State of Decay 3. I think we mentioned State of Decay 2 is currently on Game Pass. So there you go. There's a new one coming. And then we saw, very much like the PS5, Forza Motorsport. I guess when you announce a new system now, you have to show your ultra-realistic racer. What did you think about this one, Brian?
I mean, it's hard to form a whole lot of an opinion at this point just because it is so early in development and they had very, very little to show us today. But I mean, it's amazing that with each new iteration of like these racing sims, you see the cars, you see the tracks, and you think, wow, this is realism, right? Like, can it get any better? Like this just looks like the pinnacle. But then they show what they show today, and I'm like, I'm like, nope, they can do better, and here it is.
Yep.
But I always a fan of Forza Motorsport. Like I said, since the second iteration of that series, I've played them all since, and so I'm super hyped for it. I think in comparison to like what they showed on the other side, the PS5 with Gran Turismo, I think even though they didn't have much to show, I think it was more exciting. The Gran Turismo showing was kind of more akin to the gameplay that we saw with Halo, but with no excitement. It was just a guy in a cockpit for about a minute and a half.
Oh my God.
So it didn't give me a whole lot to be excited about, but the Forza Motorsport demo did kind of get like you got the feels from what was it, not Echo Generation, Exomecha.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I was feeling seeing the action, those cars ripping around the corners in the track.
I totally agree with you. Like, they didn't show much of anything, especially compared to Gran Turismo, but what they did show looked like incredible. Yeah. So that really whets the appetite. I still find it funny that they both had to show their ultra realistic racer, but that one's. In fact, I was going to try Forza. I've never played a Forza game, but I was going to try it. There's one on Game Pass right now. I feel like it's a game that you can start and not feel like you have to play all the way through. So I was going to give it a try. So I'm going to see if I might be interested in this in the future.
Talk to me offline about that. Motorsport and Horizon are two entirely different types of.
Oh, really?
Forza. Yeah, they're very different types of experiences, and we can go into that detail later.
Okay. Next up, we have Rare. Everyone waiting for it, and they announced their new Banjo-Kazooie. No, they didn't announce that. They announced Everwild, a pretty looking game. I thought it was very pretty. It was one of those, we're not going to really show you much of the gameplay, and we're going to, they had this lady who was telling you about how we do the story and what magic is like and all that jazz. It had a really nice art direction. I love games that aren't going for photorealism, and this game was rendered really well. But it did have a certain art style to it that I thought was pretty cool. Definitely one that I will keep my eye on. I don't know much about it still, but it's definitely a game that'd be like, I might be interested in this. Let's find out more later. What did you think about this one, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it. It's a very pretty game. It was also pretty vague. Also, I mean, you're like, well, okay. So they obviously didn't want to. They wanted to keep everything pretty close. So I'll be interested to see how it goes. Obviously, I said this, I think, in Discord. I always get a pang of sadness when I see Rare on the Microsoft side, especially being that we're playing through Donkey Kong Country right now. Yes. I'm always like, remember the days. But no, so because it is Rare, I will certainly keep my eye on it. It looks like it could be something special.
Cool. Brian?
Yes, absolutely. The fact that it's got a Rare tag on it is something to keep watch on it for sure, just based on their track records. But I mean, first thoughts, this game is bright. It's cartoony. You see glimpses of wilderness and nature and elements and magic, all shrouded in mystery. It's a world of fiction that I am curious about. So they didn't tell me much now, but I'm curious. Even gave me some slight vibes of like Avatar: The Last Airbender, the cartoon, not the live action, just to be clear, which is something I love. So I'm very interested in it. It was mostly CG, not really gameplay, but I want to see more.
Cool. Next up was a game called Tell Me Why from Don't Nod Entertainment. By the way, that is a palindrome. Don't Nod. Mm-hmm. I don't know why you'd name your company because it is a palindrome, but what does it mean? Don't nod. Don't you want people to nod? This one was one of the more interesting ones to me. It looked like they were really going for a kind of the gripping story more than the action. It looks like it might be some horror elements, definitely some mystery elements, a story that's evolving. It gave me some vibes of like Last of Us. Just, it looked like they were trying to connect people together. It didn't look great, was the most noticeable thing. And I feel bad because these showcases for these next generation games, your brain automatically clicks into this, I'm looking for next gen graphics. Mm-hmm. And even though I'm a fan of 2D games still, I'm still like judging these games as they go, going, that is not good enough for next gen. And this game, next to a lot of games in this showcase and a lot of the games in the PS5 showcase, didn't look like up to snuff. So I don't know. But in terms of the game itself, this one kind of gripped me a bit. So I'm going to keep an eye on it. It comes out in, a year. So who knows? Maybe it'll look better in a year. But yeah, this was one of the probably top 5 that I saw today. So
was it a year from now or?
It's coming out next month.
Yeah,
oh,
chapter 1. Chapter
oh,
1,
I just
August
assumed.
27th.
Yeah. So this one will be on Xbox One X Game Pass. So you know what? I'll be able to play it next month.
There you go.
Give
it a shot.
This is the one that you still shots, didn't it? Like a lot of the times.
No.
No, that wasn't this one. Okay, sorry.
No, that was as Dusk Falls. We'll get to that one later.
Oh, okay. All right.
That was weird.
Yeah, that was.
But yeah, this one. Okay, cool. I'm gonna try this one next month. I'll let you guys know what I think.
Cool.
All right. I'm going to let you guys go first in this one because I'm going to gush. But Ori and the Will of the Wisps. First of all, they start showing the Moon Studios logo, and I'm shrieking like a little girl over here. But it's Ori and the Will of the Wisps. This is like the mini remaster, little tweaks to the game, and 120 frames per second. They showed side by side, and if you squinted, you could see it was a little bit better. Yeah. Have you guys played this game?
So I guess I'll go first. I started it like the day that they released it on Game Pass because I was really excited, having come off of the first one and just absolutely loved that experience. It's such a moving and emotional tale that they tell. So yeah, I was really excited to play Will of the Wisps. However, I played probably 30 minutes of it, and during that time, like I had so much frame rate stutter, you
were mentioning that
severe drops in frame rate, and I thought, well, this just has to be due to needing a patch or something, because I'm playing on a 1X, I'm playing on the best hardware that Xbox has to offer currently, and it ran like garbage, at least within the first couple of days that it released. And so at that point, I didn't really want to experience the whole game in that way, so I put it down and thought I'll wait a little while, so wait for some patches to come out. But then, after seeing this today, where they're working on a special edition for Series X, even higher fidelity, higher frames per second, higher refresh rate, all that stuff sounds really, really good. It almost makes me want to wait a little bit longer. I don't have a shortage of stuff to play, but it, almost makes me want to wait and play it on the best hardware that I can. And later, whenever it's out on the Series X. One thing that I did find really strange was the way they showed the side-by-side comparisons of the 60 frames per second versus the 120 frames per second. And they didn't even show those happening in real time. You could tell those videos were slowed down. And so you don't even see it moving at its smoothest that it could be at 120 frames because they've slowed the video down. So like you said, John, if you squinted, you could tell there was a slight difference. But I think if they had played that at its full speed, you probably would have noticed it a little bit more. And maybe some of that is taken away in the fact that we're watching a live stream and not, a fully pre-rendered 4K
and you're probably watching video. Yeah, you're probably watching at 60 frames per second. So right. I think they had to slow it down for technical reasons.
Sure.
But even then, it was like hard to tell. But if you do watch it again, you can see, it's smoother, but you don't know what it looks like in real life unless you're actually playing it. Nick, have you played this game?
I have not. I want to so bad. I played Ori and the Blind Forest, obviously on the Switch, and so yeah, this is. If I picked up an Xbox tomorrow, this would be one of the first games that I played on Game Pass for sure. So I am super excited. I will say I believe you if you can see a difference if you really squint. But I was sitting there squinting. It seemed like I did like, what are they showing? Like, this is a great game. What are they trying to show here? I didn't see anything, but that takes nothing away from the game itself because I only hear great things. And if it's anything like the last one, it can't be anything but amazing.
Sure.
Okay, guys, can I gush?
Do it.
Gush.
So Ori and the Will of the Wisps is my game of the year for 2019. I can't see any game that's going to beat it, but we'll see. I, like you, I played Ori and the Blind Forest on the Switch. I think that was still one of the coolest reveal trailers when they announced it, because I didn't actually know what this game looked like. I just heard so many good things about it. And then when they were playing the music and revealed the title, I was like, what is this game? Who's this little white character? And then when they revealed the name of it, I was like, oh, it's Ori. Like, I'm totally going to play it. And I played through it on Switch, loved it, cried like a baby multiple times, sobbed uncontrollably at the end of the first one. So one of the big reasons I did end up getting the Xbox was, knowing that this was on Game Pass. And I was like, holy crap, I can play Will of the Wisps. And I didn't play it right away. I don't know why. And yeah, I finished this one up a couple weeks ago. And it was one of those games where I beat it and I was like, that was incredible. It's my game of the year. Now I'm going to go 100% it. And I played for another several days and just got every item, every little thing I could in the game.
Nice.
Until I could play it no more. And I was like sad to turn it off. And I told my wife, who had played through Ori actually before me, I said, you need to play this game. You have to play this game. Like, take the Xbox upstairs and you have to play this game. And so she's going through it and she's really liking it. I'm watching her play it on easy mode and she's having a hard time with it. And I've had to do a couple of areas for her. But yeah, one of those, if you remember from the first game, there's like a chase scene where the water's rushing up and you have to try to like beat it out. It's a great section. They have a few similar areas like that in Will of the Wisp. And like, I love watching my wife play. I told her she should stream because she freaks out so much when she plays like sequences like that. She just like, you hear her like when she wants to jump, she can't hit the jump button once. She starts tapping it like crazy because she's panicking, and it's so much fun to watch. I'll never forget Resident Evil 4 when she played Resident Evil 4. So yeah, when they showed Ori, I was really hoping for an Ori 3 announcement. And I mean, this game came out this year, so we're probably not going to get it, but maybe a DLC or something. I was a little disappointed that it was just this little tiny remaster. But I do know, if it comes out on Series X, maybe I could play through it again. I don't know. I was hoping for more, but this is one of the most perfect games you'll ever play. So just play it. Play this game, no matter what system you play it on.
I will say, if I can jump in real quick, and I have the greatest story for the previous game, but my daughter was not feeling well, and so it was 1 a.m, and I went and kind of consoled her, and she fell back asleep, and I grabbed my Switch and kind of laid next to her, and I don't normally use headphones when I play on my Switch, and I was so glad that this happened to be one of those experiences where it's like, well, okay, I have headphones, my daughter's right here. I pull the covers over my head so that the light doesn't wake her up, and I turn on for the first time Ori, and that was like at 1:30. And like, I don't remember anything until my phone goes off at like 5 a.m, because this is back in school. And I'm like, holy, what just happened to the last 4 hours of my life? But I mean, like, it's one of those games for me. That's awesome. That's how it works. So
I named I said the best Metroidvania style game ever made is Ori and the Blind Forest, and the second best is Ori and the Will of the Wisps. That's how much I regard these games. I think they're the best of their genre. Will of the Wisp is probably the better game, but that first experience in the first game is always so hard to top. So I actually do want to play the Blind Forest through on Xbox, because I bet you it'll play a little bit better. And anyway, I'll stop gushing now. We move on to the Outer Worlds, Peril on Gorgon, and Bryan knows a little bit about this. Tell us about it, Bryan.
Yeah, so first of all, when they were revealing it, I'm like, whoa, what is this? Space RPG? This looks really a lot like Outer Worlds. And then I was like, oh, okay, this is Outer Worlds. But my first impression on my first watch of this presentation, I ended up watching it again to prepare for tonight. But the first reveal made me think that this was like a new game or a sequel to The Outer Worlds. But then it wasn't until I noticed in the second watch that this is actually a paid DLC for The Outer Worlds. So I don't know if anybody else maybe missed that. I noticed it in some small text in the lower right-hand corner, on my second watch there. But paid DLC. Game Pass members can have the base game for free. But the Peril on Gorgon add-on is a paid paid extra, and Game Pass members can get 10% off discount of that. But that's available cool. September 9th. It looks pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, you can play Outer Worlds for free right now in Game Pass. Mm-hmm. I was excited to try it until I realized it was first person, and I feel like Jesse, my God. So it's such a pretty game, though. But that's cool. I'm excited for people because that's been a really popular game of the year. And that was the first game of 3 in a row that Obsidian announced. The next one had a great joke in it. Tell us about this one. I
loved it.
Grounded.
Oh, I'm sorry. Nick, yeah. Okay, sorry. I'm really excited for this game. I don't know. I'm an Animal Crossing. I am. I think, I don't know. It's this weird dad crossing people, I think, maybe, like Dan was all interested into that bug game for the PlayStation. I am. There's a survival mode to it. No, granted, we don't know a lot, but from what I see, there's a ton of potential here for it to be really fun. It looks like there's like a co-op option, hopefully online. I mean, I'm just guessing. I don't know. But you're fighting bugs. You're trying to survive. It's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I think that's what Datfast said. And he's totally right. Like, you're small. The bugs are big, and you're just trying to survive through it. And it looks like you're making some type of a base that you're kind of growing up. And I always love those kind of things. I'm making a base. I'm trying to live. If I can do it with friends, that makes it twice as good. I'm really interested to see if the potential pans out.
It comes out in 5 days, early access, which is really interesting.
If only I had an Xbox.
If only you had an Xbox. I don't know. I mean, maybe on Steam too. I thought it was funny they had like that Cyberpunk joke in there where it was like, this is the biggest game of the year. If you want to play the biggest game of the year, play Cyberpunk 2077 later this year. Well, is this something that looks like you would want to play, Brian?
No, it does not. I was going to mention that if you didn't, John, the joke at the top. I had a real laugh out loud moment when they say, if you're looking for the biggest game of the year, play Cyberpunk 2077. Like, that was just brilliant. They show off resource collecting, base building, crafting. None of that is my style of game. In fact, that's why I didn't enjoy Fallout 4 when it got to the point where you had to do a lot of base building and build solutions and find all the parts that you need to build this solution. Like, I just checked out at that point. So, but the premise looks interesting, and I really want to be able to shoot tiny arrows into the face of a spider. So it's on Game Pass. It might surprise me. I'll give it a shot. Cool.
We had one of our members, Datfast, had a comment about this one that I shared, and I'm going to share with you. He says this game is super intriguing, as it looks like a blend of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and the animated movie Epic. I think I'll be trying this one out for sure when it hits Game Pass. It's a fresh take from Obsidian, who gives us some pretty darn good RPGs, which is true. They have a pretty good track record. So yeah, definitely one of those things where, it's made by Obsidian. Okay, I have to give it a shot. But I lean towards you, Brian. I don't know if I'm interested in this one at all. I did appreciate the humor that they tried to go with, but doesn't look like my kind of game, but definitely a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids vibe there. All right. And then the last one, Avowed. Now, this is the one that kind of looked like Skyrim, and for a brief moment, before I was like realizing it was Obsidian, I was like, is this the new, like, the sequel to Skyrim? Is this coming? Like, because it just looked like it with the hands. I don't know. Brian, what do you think about this one? Did this? Well, didn't see much, but what did you think?
Exactly. Again, this is one of those where it's super early in development, so they didn't have much to show us. Just more of a teaser, right? And Obsidian, with their track record, they're known for really excellent RPGs. I myself have not played an Obsidian RPG, I don't think, but they are regarded as some of the best. So we really just need to see some more, maybe see what gameplay is going to be like. But it did look intriguing. One of the things that I think stood out to me is that and I don't know if they mentioned this. I know Matt Booty followed up with some comments after they showed this. I don't know if it was him or in the post show, because I watched a lot of the post show interviews as well. But somebody had stated that Obsidian said that this is the game they have been waiting and wanting to make, and so when Microsoft picked them up, that's like, go do it. You have the freedom and you've got our resources. You've got a vision and a passion and a drive to make something incredible on our new system. Go make it. And it wasn't just an assignment they were asked to produce. So I think with that in mind, they're probably going to make something really cool for us.
What do you think that means, though? Like, because we do hear that a lot with these next gen announcements. They're like, finally, we are unshackled and able to put in the personality. And I swear, I wanted to do a supercut. If you go back to the PS4, PS3, remember the PS2 and the emotion engine? It's like they always say that. My gosh. But Obsidian, I mean, they made Outer Worlds, they made Fallout New Vegas, they made the South Park games. So they do have a good track record among many other games. So I'm curious to see, like you said, what does this mean? Like, this is the one we wanted to make. Okay, so far it just looks like, Skyrim, vaguely like Skyrim. It had just had a look, but I think it's going to be an interesting one to see. This could be very interesting.
For sure.
All right, so we finish off with Obsidian. The next one, As Dusk Falls, and this is the game we mentioned earlier where they were showing the artists doing hand drawn. And I just want to say, like, when I see hand-drawn art, I'm always, like, really impressed by it. And then when they showed the clip in the trailer, when they were showing, I think it was a lady drawing on a screen that had a picture, like a photo picture of somebody, and then she was drawing over top of it. I remember thinking, well, that doesn't take much talent. Like, she's just tracing. This one was very interesting. It almost looked like a storyboarded version of a game where these hand-drawn characters that with very slight, some of them had more interesting animations, very slight animations. Is that what the game's going to look like, or was this just like a storyboard thing?
No, I really do think that that's probably going to be the majority of what it looks like. I think that's a good comparison you made there to it looking like a storyboard. I didn't really make that connection. I written down that it's almost comic book art style, but they said at the very top that it's an interactive drama following some flawed characters who are just trying to make it, and this idea of like, or not idea, but I guess like the style of Telltale games, they're I guess it's kind of similar to those where it's more about the story, it's less about the gameplay and the buttons and snap reactions and that sort of thing. It's more of just trying to tell a story and do it in a unique way. So that's kind of what I took from it. I saw the art as for what it's going to actually be, and it did have that animation where these figures or the characters look kind of static, but it had almost like a parallax motion where the background was moving one way and the characters were moving in another direction to kind of give it a dynamic feel. So I think if the characters and the story are well fleshed out, it could be one that I'd really enjoy. It definitely has the potential. I was a little turned off that the characters looked like actual human beings. They weren't like video game universe characters with crazy colored hair and some like fantasy looks. They looked like regular people. That was a huge turn off for me. Well, I think if they're going for drama, maybe they want us to make a connection.
Right. You make me sound like a jerk, Brian. No, I do appreciate, though, new directions in games. I got a little sick of, hey, you got a gun and you're in the post-apocalyptic world and you're going to kill a bunch of people. Like, it does get the PS5, showcase had that problem a little bit, and the Xbox One sure had that problem with that. And it was just like, come on. So I did appreciate something different. So I'll definitely keep an eye out for it. Then we get to Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 by Ninja Theory. This was a game I played on Switch. I don't know what it was. I just really wanted to play it. I get drawn to strong female characters in video games. And I played it on Switch, and it was, don't get me wrong, a compromised version of the game. It looked good. The thing that was most notable about it on the Switch was that a lot of the cutscenes are pre-rendered. So they look great on the Switch. They look as good as any other system. Mm-hmm. And then when it transitions into the gameplay, they do this sort of, they transition to the gameplay and it's in sync with the cutscenes. And then it's like, ooh, like those textures don't look so hot anymore. When you walk through the water, the waves didn't ripple, stuff like that. I still had a great time. You throw on some headphones, and this is just one of the most fun games to play. Gameplay-wise, it's mostly puzzles. There's combat, but it's nothing really too difficult. But what a great story, and you just want to know more and more as you go through the game. The original is on Game Pass, and I'm actually going to replay it at some point on Game Pass because I want to experience it.
Did you play that with headphones on?
Yeah, well, on the Switch, yeah. I mean, you have to. You just have to.
Okay.
Like that's a headphone game, and I won't give away why, but like you have to.
Okay.
But I really want to experience it on the Xbox. I want to see the real graphics. So I'll be playing the original again. I was super excited. This was the game that they revealed at the Game Awards last year. It was really technically the first next-gen game that we ever saw. Mm-hmm. And all we saw was a cutscene. But it's a really cool story. I'm really excited for the sequel. This is one of, and this is now an Xbox exclusive because they bought Ninja Theory. So great job by them, because this is probably the game I'm most excited for on Series X. So, yeah, definitely give it a try. If you can play it on another console other than Switch, I'd go for it. But yeah, I mean, if I'm playing it a second time just to experience it on an Xbox, then you know it's pretty good. So very cool. The next one is a big announcement. This was another purchase that Microsoft made when they bought Double Fine a year ago. I can't remember. But Psychonauts 2, which is not going to be an Xbox exclusive. I think they pointed that out a while back. But Psychonauts 2 is coming out. And Brian, did you play the original game?
No, I don't have any experience with this franchise.
Okay, because it was a cult favorite, I remember. It has a weird art direction to it.
What was it on?
I think it was like mostly just on PC. It might have been on the original PlayStation. I'll have to look it up.
Okay.
But what did you think about this one?
So very cartoony, bright colors, vibrant, everything. But for what they showed, I thought the kind of psychedelic setting of the level that they were in, with all that psychedelic styling and color, I thought that was a little too much for me. Like it just it was not appealing in first impression. But then I did watch the post-show stuff, and they talk with Tim Schafer from Double Fine, and he said that the psychedelic level that they showed is really just one level that's like that. That's not the majority look and feel of the game. So that kind of had me reset my viewpoint of that preview that they showed us. Just knowing that that's not how the whole game is really going to appear. So yeah, it's got potential. It's got Jack Black. You can't go wrong with Jack Black.
Yeah, I didn't even recognize him at first.
Tell it was Jack Black. Guys.
Yeah, the second time through, they showed his name up prominently, and I was like, oh, I missed that because I was working at the time, and that was crazy. Yeah, that was weird. That didn't even sound like him. Yeah, so it was on the original Xbox and PlayStation 2, so that's the era we're looking at, and the PC, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a cult favorite. I've always heard really good things about it. Very unique game. I really would love to play it. I wouldn't mind playing a remaster if they did it. I wouldn't be surprised if they're working on one, because sometimes when you put such a gap between games, and a lot of people just don't want to get into a sequel, especially a game like this where it would seem really important to see the first story. I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of re-release the original as well to a new audience, because you're talking 2 previous consoles since the last one. So that's coming out 2021. So I'm not sure. Why do you think they were showing one level in that one? Do you think just they don't want to give too much away, or because I would have thought it's not coming out for a couple of years. Maybe that's why. Interesting.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Next one was an announcement for an existing game, Destiny 2. And this is coming to Game Pass in September. It's really nice to be in the Xbox Club and be all braggy about Game Pass. Ooh, that's for free. So
exactly.
So that's a big announcement. If you want to play Destiny 2, you can play it for free. Have you played through Destiny at all, or are you looking to play this one, Brian?
I've dabbled in it. I have some friends who have fallen deep into it in the last couple of years, and they're talking it up about how awesome it is, and I need to jump in and play with them. I just haven't really gotten that deep into it yet. But anyway, I just thought it was a big get, right, for such a popular game that's got a very big player base. Even though the base game is kind of considered free to play now, you just have to buy the expansions. Well, no more. I mean, all the expansions are coming to Game Pass, so that's pretty awesome. That was one of my hesitations when my friends are like, "Hey, why don't you come jump in and play with us?" You might have to buy an expansion or two here or there to get in all the same content as us, but instead of having to play catch up to them now and buy all the previous stuff, I can jump right in and play with them. So I just thought that was a really cool get for them to be able to offer that to current subscribers, and open the door for a lot more players to experience it with their friends.
Yeah, totally. I love that. And the game's been out for a while, too, so it's one of those, hey, maybe interest is waning a little bit, and we want to re-energize it and get some people involved.
Sure.
There's definitely multiple styles of that kind of, why you're on Game Pass. Sometimes games launch on Game Pass. Sometimes they're exclusive, like Will of the Wisp on Game Pass. So, that's an interesting one. All right, next few games, none of us were particularly interested in. Stalker 2. And that was the game where it opens up with the Ferris wheel. And we had some fun before the show actually looking up what the acronym is, because that's what it is. And it is scavengers, trespassers, adventurers, loners, killers, explorers, robbers. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Not a lot of Stalker experience here on the podcast. And then Warhammer 40,000, which I think is one of the weirdest titles for a game. Warhammer 40K, kind of whatever. Just call it Warhammer.
Sounds more like a band name.
Yeah, it's just weird. Just call it Warhammer. Come on. Warhammer 40,000, 40K, whatever. Dark Tide.
By Fat Shark.
By Fat Shark.
Yeah, Fat Shark makes up for the game title, though. You got to give it that.
Have they made other games? Do we even know who they are?
I have never heard of them.
Oh my god! I have to look it up here. I mean, I saw that and I was like, man, that would be my wife's favorite name for a company.
It could also be a band name.
Yeah, Fat Shark. All I see is Warhammer games, so I don't know. So yeah, Warhammer's a thing. And then Tetris Effect Connected, which surprised me because I thought that was only a VR game. And as far as I know, the Xbox One doesn't have a VR selection of games. Only the PlayStation 4 does. But apparently you can play this game without VR. I didn't really realize. So this one is, as I call it, Tetris Effect 99.
Yeah, totally.
Right, exactly.
Going multiplayer. I'll tell you what, I will be playing this game on Game Pass Holiday 2020 because I've heard really good things about this game, and I know it's a VR experience, which is most of why people talk about it. But heck, I'll play a few games of Tetris and see what it's like, and play some Tetris Effect 99.
There you go.
All right, next game, really interesting. Image Inform, the makers of the SteamWorld games, of which I have played every single one to 100% completion. The Gunk. This was a very interesting game. It actually looked a little like Ratchet and Clank when it first started. Nick, we haven't heard from you in a while. What did you think about this game?
Yeah, I was really excited about it. I haven't played them to completion, but I've played a lot of the SteamWorld games. And so that piqued my interest in, he's got a vacuum and he's sucking up gunk. I mean, it's and it helps him get from place to place. It looks pretty. It looks like you're going to be exploring and adventuring, kind of all things that are up my alley, and it's Image Inform. So, you can't really go wrong. I would love to play this game for sure.
How about you, Brian?
Yeah, it's a colorful planet to explore, very adventure-y, cartoony. Like you mentioned, it kind of gives vibes off of like a Ratchet and Clank, but maybe some Super Mario Sunshine mixed in, cleaning up the planet there a little bit.
Yeah, there you go.
It's got some mystical alien life and vegetation that kind of grows out of the ground and seems to evolve in various ways. So it's intriguing. I'm interested. I want to try it.
This game gave me another vibe of, like I said, the PlayStation 5 showcase. Like, they just seemed to be some games that were like mapped 1-to-1. And this one was like the Ratchet and Clank, where we see a lot of these broody, afterworld mystery science-y games, and these games that are inviting you to like spend dozens and dozens of hours. And then you saw Ratchet and Clank, and I was like, all right, cool, this is a really fun game, and it really looks next gen. Reminded me of the Gunk, although the Gunk did look good. Felt like Ratchet and Clank way outdid it. If you compared the two, I thought Ratchet and Clank looked a lot better. But I don't want to be, I don't want to be unfair to this game. It doesn't mean it's trying to be a Ratchet and Clank clone, and I thought it looked really good. So Image Inform has always done really great work. I've never seen a game like this from Image Inform. All of their games are, for the most part, two-dimensional. Yeah. So this is going to be a really interesting one to take a look at. Certainly would give it a shot on Game Pass. Which, by the way, if we haven't mentioned yet, all of these games are going to be on Game Pass, which is huge. And I think we can talk about this a little bit later, but that's why we keep talking about, hey, we'll give this a try, because it's not going to cost money to give it a try. Yeah. Except for your Game Pass membership.
They said that. Well, they said either Game Pass or free to play, which we'll get to.
Oh, okay. The Medium was the next one. Brian, describe this one for us.
It is a psychological horror taking place in both the real world and the spirit world, both rendered in real time simultaneously. So basically, you have a character who is able to live two different lives kind of at the same time, and the way they achieve this is by putting her in like this split screen scenario where stuff you do in the real world affects stuff in the spirit world, and it's kind of rendering two different almost two different games or two different versions of this level at the same time. So that I thought was pretty cool, given some peek into what the next gen console would be able to achieve. But it's, yeah, like I said, they advertise it as like a psychological horror, where you're uncovering this story. I mean, horror's not really my type of game, so I don't know if I will love it if it's like heavy into the horror side, but it does look unique, a new type of experience that maybe we haven't seen before. So definitely one to check out if you have Game Pass.
Yeah, this was one of my favorite ones of the showcase too. It finally kind of shook things up a little bit. They went with this big, like, there are two time frames or two visions of the world, and they kind of hyped up that they render both of them at the same time. Yeah. I felt like neither one looked like next gen graphics. Again, I hate to be unfair and judge it by that, but that might have been just because they're going to render two scenes at the same time. It does remain to be seen how you switch between the two viewpoints. And it kind of reminded me of a game that kind of came up in our Discord, Chris Tales, where you kind of go between the future and the present at the click of a button. So I'm curious to see how this one goes between the two. If you're holding down a button to see a different view of the world and you're looking for things that could be in either dimension or whatever it is. But definitely, this is one game I would at least start up and try. Female character, it checks all the boxes. So this one looks like it could be a good one.
Sure.
Next up, this was a pretty big announcement. New Genesis Phantasy Star Online 2. Phantasy Star Online's always been popular. It's been around forever. It's part of a long-running series. Brian, is this one like an MMO or is it more like a junior RPG?
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest with you. We might have to ask Drew if this is a junior RPG. It had gorgeous looking environments. The character and enemy models looked great. It gave off feelings of like a Xenoblade Chronicles or maybe like a Monster Hunter with the giant creatures that you need to take down, possibly with the help of additional players. Yeah. But the one takeaway I got from this is, why is the text so tiny?
Yes,
it was
so tiny.
It was a struggle to see any of the UI elements and understand what the text or the icons were for. Hopefully there's some accessibility options to bump that up, but man, that's some of the smallest text I've seen in the game.
Yeah, make it accessible to the 99% of the people that can't read that on their TV screen. Yeah, I was excited for this. I've never played Phantasy Star Online. I've barely played Phantasy Star. I tried to play through the first Phantasy Star. They have a GBA cartridge with like the first couple Phantasy Star games on it. And I was like, oh, I totally love those old style JRPGs, you know, the junior RPGs. And I didn't get into it because it was just a little too old. The original Phantasy Star is very old.
It is.
And I don't really play MMOs. I don't like playing games that are online that are going to keep you hooked for hundreds of hours because there's just so many interesting experiences to try, and I don't want to get hooked on any one. But I really like this. I was excited for it. It did not look like it had next-gen graphics, but it was colorful. It was bright. There looked like some cool battles, and it just looked like, wow, this could be a game. I'd give it a shot. I was really excited to see it. Just really like refreshingly different from the other stuff. I really love the title New Genesis. I feel like that's a tip of the cap to, you know, the Sega Genesis. I'm not sure if they meant it. They had to have meant it. Sega doesn't just make a game with the word Genesis in it and not think, oh, we had a console by that name. So that was a really cool announcement. I was excited for that. And then we start to wrap it up with what we think is the last announcement: Crossfire X, Crossfire Cross. Did we determine what that was?
I'm going to go with Crossfire X.
I thought this was one of the most generic looking shooter games I've ever seen, with a name that's totally associated with a crack addicting commercial for a board game. Yes. I don't know why you would call your game Crossfire, but what did you think about this one, Brian?
Well, like you said, it did look like a generic shooter. They kind of lost my attention when they said that it was a free to play or free to start. I can't remember. I think they said free to play, but you know, in my experience, free to play games just haven't had the mechanics that keep me interested in coming back, because usually they involve some sort of additional monetization type of model where you might have to spend some additional money to, you know, get new gear or get more energy packs that allow you to play for longer or something like that. I'm not saying that that's what this game is going to include. They didn't really indicate that, but just hearing free to play in my head kind of turns me off. But this is another one of those things where I didn't notice, but they had some small text in the lower right corner that I noticed on my second watch, is that there would be a single player mode available, but not in Game Pass. It will be a standalone purchase, I guess, as its own little single player campaign experience. And so that aspect of the game I'm more interested in seeing. You know, I'm willing to pay, you know, X amount, whatever they want to charge for it, get my experience in, you know, pack everything in that you wanted me to experience for that amount of money, and not have to maybe bank on some other monetization models to get me to do microtransactions or whatever for the multiplayer aspect of the game. So I just wanted to point that out because I did not notice that at first. Maybe some of the folks listening didn't notice that either. But yeah, that's coming this year too.
So the multiplayer will kind of hook you in, and then you'll want to play the campaign later. I mean, it's probably a good strategy. I'm surprised more Game Pass games aren't like, okay, this part is free, but not everything. Almost like a glorified demo system. Of course, then everyone would call Game Pass just a demo system, but you definitely do see at games like we saw before where the DLC is not free or whatever. Luckily, it's pretty minor. There's only a few games that do it, but that's a really big one because I'm like you. I like the campaign modes more than the multiplayer.
Sure.
Nick, why don't you announce this last one? This was the One More Thing game of the showcase.
I was so excited. Like, this was I loved playing Fable, back in the day, and the way that they showed it with the fairy, and then you always know in Fable you have the good and the bad, and you can choose which, if you want to be good or if you want to be evil, or which side you want to be on. And the way they show the fairy being good and flying through the forest and everything, and then it just gets sucked up by the frog, and the narrator's like, or maybe not, maybe you're not going to be good. What do you want to do? So yeah, Fable is announced, and man, I am super excited. I loved 1, I loved 2. I didn't get a chance to play 3, so I want to see what Fable looks like on the Series X. Probably my top game out of all these things, for sure. Out of all these games, for sure. So
I'm happy for you, Nick.
We have the same games. I can definitely tell. We have the same vibe, John.
You know what? Drew was a big Disney fan. He actually has his Disney Guys podcast, and this Tinkerbell character was flying around, and it's like,
Yeah.
I hope Drew didn't cry when he saw it or something. Brian, is this a game you're going to try? First of all, do you know if this is like a remake or a reboot or just what?
I do not know, but just going off of a hunch, I think it's a new one.
Yeah, I would guess.
But yeah, I mean, it's very fantastical looking, and the fairy flying in the beginning, and then, as Nick mentioned, she gets swallowed up by the frog unexpectedly. That was a big laugh out loud moment, and then you hear the narrator come on and say, "Not all tales have a happy ending, but yours has yet to be written." That's kind of a cool little chilling moment, and kind of sends some chills up your spine of, ooh, this, I want to experience this. So that line really humored me. And that scene with the frog eating the fairy.
I think every good trailer has that memorable moment too. That little, your brain can just like latch on and go, "Oh, Fable, that's the one with the frog." Yeah. And I think the best trailers have moments like that. What else, Nick?
Have you played this, Brian? Had you played any other Fables?
I have dabbled in them, but I did not get real deep in.
Gotcha. For me, it was the first one that had that kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like where you can do whatever you want, like the lady's like, you take a side quest, and it's like, hey, my son did this, and you find your son, and he's just like a total tool, and it was like, well, you can be a tool too and help him, or you can just kill him. And that was like my first experience in a game like that, where you had this freedom to do whatever you wanted. Like, do you want to be a tool, or do you want to save this dude? Like, and so that was... Yeah, I'll never forget it. And that whole game, I 100%, that was probably one of the first games like that I 100%ed. I played it and there were multiple endings in the first one, and I got them all. So
it sounds cool. My memory of Fable, and I didn't play Fable, but a long time ago when I had a whole bunch of like PC games, one of them for whatever reason was black and white. I think I got it as part of like a collection of games. And it was like, from the legendary maker, was his name, Peter Molyneux, the legendary maker of Fable. And I was like, for some reason, I was like super excited to play black and white. And then I played it for like 10 minutes and was like, I do not like this game. I don't know why this guy is so overhyped. So I never did play Fable, and it became one of those games that just became inaccessible after a while. So this is definitely a game I'll keep my eye on, especially if it's some kind of reboot, or I think no matter what they do, it's going to have, it's not going to be a game that if you haven't played the previous games, you'd be lost in. So yeah. It looks very interesting. And the frog reminds me of the frog in Ori, Will of the Wisp. So that's a bonus. So that was the end. I do want to say, too, the guy who was talking at the end of the video, for some reason, I thought was Phil Spencer, even though he appeared early in the video. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what's wrong with Phil Spencer? Does he have COVID? Like, he looked really sickly, and it turns out it wasn't Phil Spencer. It was some other guy.
Matt Booty.
Was it? Oh, okay. And I was trying to figure out his name, and I couldn't find it. But yeah, no, Phil Spencer he looks good. He was earlier in the video. Looks just like Phil Spencer. So, all right. So we're all done with the showcase. So now, guys, what did we think? I mean, it's unfair to compare it to PS5 because these are just showcases, and this is not every game that's coming. Both systems have hinted that more is coming, and certainly it's unfair if someone's showing a game that's multiple years off, and we don't know what the launches are going to look like. But let me throw some questions at you just to see. First of all, Nick, what did you think about this showcase, and did it get you more excited or less excited about the Series X?
I think it got me more excited. And I think one thing to say about the launch, and they for people who have Game Pass, and I think this is interesting. I don't know if there's a console this has ever been the case for. For people who have Game Pass, there will be hundreds of games available at the beginning of this console's life cycle.
Yes.
I think that's really huge, especially for a guy like me who's like, yes. Well, I would be buying it from the beginning without having. I mean, I know it's backwards compatible, but I haven't bought anything from the last generation, so I'm gonna have to start from pretty much square one. So to hear that and to say, wow, I'm gonna have hundreds of games, that's way better than when I opened up my Switch the first time and I was like, of course, I can at least make a me, right? I can make a me. No, I can't. Oh crap, I can't do anything, like to open it up. If you have Game Pass, to open it up and have this library to just choose from, I think that's huge. And so, yeah, that really did get me excited to think, all right. And that really kind of moves the needle. I will say that, to hear that.
Yeah. And it's like, basically you're going to get a lot of the Xbox One experience. So like the first day you get it, like you'll be able to play Will of the Wisp. You'll be able to play a lot of games that appeared on the current gen. And it won't even be like, here, you can play these games emulated on the previous console and they look like shit and you don't want to play them, Yeah. Like this is going to be like, these games are going to look good. I mean, you can play Xbox One X games and you won't even be able to tell that they're previous generation. So, you might need a few weeks vacation, Nick, because you're going to have a lot of games to play when it comes out. Same question for you, Brian. Did this showcase make you more excited or less excited for Series X?
I think more excited in general for where Microsoft is moving and their focus on Game Pass. The fact that they communicated to us that everything we saw today we can try, day and date when they release on Game Pass. That speaks volumes because we don't have to gamble our money on buying something and hating it, not being able to return it or whatever. And I'm thinking back through watching the PlayStation 5 games reveal. There were a few things that is like 100%. I know I would like that. I would definitely buy that and I would enjoy it. But there were a lot that I didn't know, but I don't have a way to know over there unless I gambled with a purchase,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just the Game Pass model is really a paradigm shift in how we consume games, and I think that's a really cool step forward for the industry. And in the case of what Nick was talking about, how he has not jumped into the Xbox ecosystem since the original, or I think it was 360. It was the last one he had. Yeah. For you, Nick, that's a big deal that there's over 100 titles available at launch, because like you said, you can start over kind of from where they were before and play some of those backwards compatible titles, and not only play them, to your point, John, like you said, they're not just emulated versions in the old OS, right? They've been upscaled, they've been better, smoothed out in frame rate. Yeah. They've been improved. They play better on the newer hardware. So not only do you get to catch up on some of the gems that you missed, but you get to play them in an even better experience than, say, maybe me or John did on our Xbox One X's, and so it's exciting. It does move me a little bit more towards the Series X, though. With everything, even with the smart delivery feature that they're advertising, I'll be able to play these on my One X when they release. So again, I'm not being forced to upgrade right away. So I don't know that it is a day one purchase yet. Unless there's going to be some killer feature or fidelity regarding Halo that I just can't miss, is seeing it in its best form. Maybe that might push me. But it gives us room to grow into it when we are ready, or when there is enough reason to get there, and we don't have to miss things along the way.
Yeah, Microsoft, what Microsoft is doing with this next generation console is like very consumer friendly. It's something we always want. We always want backwards compatibility with our consoles. And they're doing it. I mean, like, it's almost seamless. And I really appreciate that. I just worry a little bit about, is Microsoft giving too much away? And here's what I mean. A lot of these games, not all of them, but a lot of these games will be on the Xbox One X, right? The current generation console. And as someone who just bought my Xbox One, and it's still like new to me, this isn't like, I haven't had it since when did it come out? 2013. I haven't had it since 2013. So it's still new to me. And coming into this showcase, I said to myself, if I'm going to get a Series X, because I'm not really interested in the PS5 right now, it'd probably be in like 2022. And I know I say that a lot about consoles and stuff, and I always just get too excited and buy it. But I mean, I just got my Xbox One, and I'm looking at it 2022. After watching this showcase, nothing changed for me. There was a few games that I would say I'm interested in, but there was no game that was like, oh God, I have to get this system. I have to get the system because I have to play that game. Nothing really snuck out to me. And the biggest launch title, obviously going to be Halo Infinite, is a game I probably can't even play. And they're putting all of these on Game Pass, and I don't know the business behind Game Pass. To me, it's like ludicrous. You're $10 a month, and you're playing games for free. I mean, I would have paid $60 for Ori 2, and instead I paid $10, and I played it, and I'm done with it. I'll never have to come back to it again. And sure, I don't own it, and I could own it if I want to, but I don't understand the business model. But I do understand that it's going to bring a lot of people to Xbox. But they're giving all of these games away for free. Halo Infinite is going to be a game that they're just giving away for a $10 a month subscription. So I'm a little worried for them about that. And like I said, the showcase didn't impress me enough that it would move up my intended purchase date. I'm going to be more than happy to play some of these games, just try them out or whatever on my Xbox One X. So I think in terms of PS5, like you said, there's going to be games that you won't even give a try because you're not going to spend $60 or $70 on them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like to me, like the Miles Morales Spider-Man was exciting. I mean, I was a little excited for Horizon Zero Dawn, even though I haven't played the original and I didn't look like I wanted it too much. So this is going to be really interesting. This is really the first console where you said you're going to have a bunch of not just like, oh, these are games you can play, like really good quality games that you can play right from the start, and a lot of them for free. It's like we're not even talking about the console and the exclusives and the controller and those things. We're talking about the service being so good. So I'm a little worried for Microsoft, but Game Pass is going to be a great part of this.
John, if I can offer one short little anecdote about Game Pass and how that business model works for the developers. I don't know it myself really, but just a little story here. Forza Horizon 4, whenever it came out, it was saying, they touted it as day and date. As soon as it releases, you're going to be able to play it on Game Pass, and that was great, and I did, and that kept me from pre-ordering the game and having a physical copy on my shelf, which I love. I have a lot of physical copies, and I still prefer to buy that way usually, but when that game, sometime after its release, I don't know how long, but it went on sale like half off at Best Buy, and I went out and picked it up, even though I still had access to it on Game Pass.
Right.
It was like, I love this game so much, and I have all the other physical editions on my shelf. I want to add this one to it. Bam, I went out and bought it. So you may have situations like that too.
I agree. If they put out a physical Ori or Will of the Wisp on any of the consoles, I'd probably buy it too. So I totally get that. And these games come off of Game Pass. You might want to play them again. Yeah. I mean, and I always keep my, I told you, I keep my eye on what's coming off because I have a bunch of games that I want to play. And obviously the priority is going to be like, oh, well, that game's not going to be available, at the end of the month. They better get to it. I don't know. It's going to be pretty interesting.
It's interesting, though, because you think it's got to be a hard business model or else you would think Sony would jump on this bandwagon pretty quick too, right? Like, I mean, they gotta see that it's there. Yeah, but it doesn't work as well as it does on Microsoft. Is that not correct?
Well, it's a different thing because you download the games on Game Pass.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you download them. They're not played on the cloud. They have no latency at all. It's just like you download it, and it's like, here, you can play this for free as long as it's like on Game Pass. It works great. I mean, they have the cloud thing like PlayStation Now, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
They have that, but you're playing those, like, you're kind of streaming them. So
I did not know that.
It's not the same. But Game Pass, yeah, you download the game. It's as if you bought the game digitally, except it will expire at some point, and then you won't be able to play it anymore. So now, here's a question I'm going to throw at you guys. No matter what your excitement for the Series X, and I know, Nick, like, because you didn't have an Xbox One, I think the Series X is going to have a lot of appeal to just wait and buy that one. Yeah. What more would you like to see? What would make you more excited? Any particular game franchises, or do you want to know price? Like, what do you want to hear more about from Microsoft to up your excitement? If anything.
Yeah. Price is definitely, I think the last key factor, right? Sure. At least for me. I'm pretty much, I was on the fence as to if I was just going to buy a 1X and just call it a day, or if I was going to do a Series S. And I'm pretty set now that I will wait for a Series S and just do that and be set for a while. And so, but price is the only factor that really plays in here. But I think they'll be the lower of the two. So I at least that's what I surmise. That's my hypothesis. So I think I'll be fine. But yeah, that's probably the last key factor. They just need to seal the deal that their price isn't like over the top ridiculous, which I don't think it will be.
The kind of chicken game they're playing with PlayStation almost makes me feel like these systems might be pretty expensive. Do you think, remember when the Wii U came out and they had that white version that was, I think, $50 less? I think it had 8 gigabytes of storage space.
Yes.
Yeah. It seems so low. When I got my Xbox One X and it had 1 terabyte, I was like, oh my God. But they came out with that. And one of the big problems with that is you of course face this challenge of, well, I can save $50, but once I buy it, I'm stuck with this. I'm not upgrading in 6 months, right? Mm-hmm. And what am I giving up? So what do you want to see from the Series S? And obviously we know the Series S is going to be a lower cost. Is it digital only? Or we're thinking the Series S will be digital only?
What they're codenaming Lockhart?
I believe so, yeah.
I'm not sure if it's going to be an all digital system or not. I don't think that either. I don't think that they've announced that, or maybe be some rumors that are flying around about that. But
I mean, it would make sense if you're going to make a lower processor, lower speed. I mean, you would get rid of the drive and try to keep that price tag like low as an entry point.
I don't know, but that kind of gatekeeps out the people who maybe can't afford the highest end box, but they still want to be able to put a disc in. I mean, that seems antithetical to the direction they're kind of taking everything, being user friendly and choice over anything else.
But would that mean like there'd be like a Series U, which would be it would be the processor of an S with a drive, and then you'd have the Series S as the processor and no drive. And I mean, I'm actually kind of shocked that we're seeing a generation where there are 2 SKUs like right off the bat like this. There's such major differences, because usually you get that, you'll get the system, and then down the road, we saw it with the PSP, where down the road, here's a PSP without a drive and we can offer it cheaper. Here's a Wii, like remember the red Wii that didn't have internet and didn't, it was like, so all of these things where they strip stuff out. We're getting these of both.
Yeah, I just don't know that they do an all digital one, at least up front. I'm thinking their 2 SKUs are going to be both disc enabled. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but they don't have to copy everything Sony's doing. And I don't know. Maybe one of you know what the success rate was of the Xbox One S all digital, the SAD edition, as the community colloquially called it. Yeah, the SAD edition.
Because it was just digital.
Yes. They specifically called it the all digital, so it was the One S all digital, the SAD.
Okay.
But anyway, I don't know the success of that, right? Like, was that wildly popular? I don't remember seeing it, full on shelves. So, maybe they didn't make too many, or maybe they couldn't keep them stocked. I'm not sure. But
for a time,
if that was an indicator, maybe that might have been their test market to say, well, with Series X or Series S, do we produce one without a drive or not? And I'm not sure. Maybe if that was highly successful, maybe they do.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, for a time, I kind of thought like I would, if I ever bought an Xbox One, I would buy the Series S. I would get the all digital. And I said I just wouldn't get discs for the system. I don't know why that is. I think it's because I like collecting Switch games. And I have a PS4, but I just have a handful of games for it. I don't go crazy with it. And I'm not really connected, but I don't want to get like another set of disc games. Like I can say this is just digital. And I do that with my Xbox One now, where I'm not buying digital games, but it does have a drive. And I do appreciate it being there because I can watch Blu-ray movies on it. But it doesn't have a drive. And yeah, for a while before I got this, I said I would get a Series S, I would get Game Pass, and I would have no drive, and I'd buy this cheap version of the Xbox and be happy with it. And I would have been happy with it if not for the Cyberpunk thing. But if the Cyberpunk thing was a Series S, that would have been pretty perfect. So I think we're in an age where you can go without a drive pretty readily. It's just if you want to collect games, if you want to have them on your shelf and... because a lot of these games, they need these major patches up front. They have a big online component. And 20 years from now, can you dig out your Xbox One and play these games in a sensible way if you have the disc? I don't know.
Probably not. I will say the price cut would have to be pretty steep for me to go in for an all-digital version without a disc. Only because... you got to think that there are going to be some games on Game Pass. I mean, if you get into a game and they say, well, that one's not on anymore, you can usually, you guys actually just talked about this on Dads After Dark not too long ago, where the prices on these type of games drop much quicker than Nintendo does. So you could probably go and pick that game up that you wanted that wasn't on Game Pass for much lower, $20-$30 than what it came out at. And so... to have that option, I may not use it very often, but man, if there's a game that I just absolutely love to lock myself out from that, I don't know that I'd want to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I can definitely see in my future buying physical discs. I've already been tempted with the Tomb Raider series, which is my favorite modern series. The digital price of the first one is like, I think $30, and I'm like, God, that's too expensive for a game that old. So I'm tempted to just get the discs on it, but you're definitely down the road when you can find these games for $5. You'll be like, okay, I'll just buy those because I never owned anything because I had Game Pass.
Yeah. But
fun.
You're right. The argument of like, well, you're going to want to play this in 20 years. Well, in 20 years, you're not going to be able to play it because the patch isn't going to work and the game's going to be ganky and, it's just not going to happen.
No. And that's why I love the Switch, because this is a system where 20 years from now, right? Go in your basement, open the cardboard box. Those games are going to play. There's going to be no problem with those. I hope not.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't trust the discs anymore. I think GameCube discs have, like, a lot of them don't work. And I don't know, PS2 and all that. So, yeah, this is the Switch is a system I want to pull out of the box. The Xbox will be just kind of the all digital thing. And who knows in 20 years if you can access games or whatever, but then maybe I'll take a chance on some dollar discs for the Xbox One. All right, guys, I have one final question for you, and you know what it is. Who won? As of right now, let's say, who won between the PS5 showcase and the Xbox One showcase? Just as of now, no promises of the future. whose presentation reigned supreme? Brian, I'm going to make you go first. Who won?
It's hard to say, man. That is a very hard question right now. I think it's very close. I might even need to rewatch the Sony event to really get a good feel on how I would answer this question. Both have a lot to offer, unique advantages to each. Xbox obviously stronger on the services side, and choice is always good, but PS5, man, they are so strong on their exclusive titles, their properties that they have, and just crafting the most memorable single player narrative driven experiences. Gosh, if I had to pick, I'm probably.
What have we done to Brian?
I know we broke him.
You've broken my brain. If I had to just pick off the cuff right now, I'm saying Xbox just because I want Halo Infinite so bad.
Wow. Wow. Xbox is the winner. All right. Nick, you just rewatched the PS5 one today, right?
I did. Yeah, I listened. I hadn't watched it. I listened to your guys' podcast about it, and I thought, well, I need to actually see it for myself to answer this question, because I assumed it was coming. So yeah, I just watched it. I will say, man, the PS5 presentation is awesome, and they're like head to head are probably more games that are up my alley on the PS5 side. But I say probably because I don't really know, and I don't know the price that those games are going to drop at, but let's just assume they all drop at $60. They're talking possibly 70, so we'll just say 60. I am not going to pull the trigger on probably half of those because I don't really know that they're my type of game. So I'm either going to wait until they drop, or I'm just not gonna do it at all because I don't have the comfort level to put that kind of cash behind them right now. Whereas on Xbox, they have Game Pass. That moves the needle over for me to say, yeah, that's my console. Like, that will be the one that I pick up. They won because of their services, for sure.
Wow. That's awesome. Okay. So I will say between the two consoles, between the two presentations, I'm going to name PS5 the winner. Okay. I thought both showcases had a similar problem. The games had a sort of sameness to them. There are all these big epic games, and it's like, I don't need epic games, but I think they get skewed by the fact that they have to show next gen graphics, and they can't show, some cool 2D game that's just going to come out, right? They have to show a game that you can only play on a system so powerful. I thought the presentations had a little sameness. I thought it was hilarious that they both showed off their hyper realistic car games. They both showed off, one had Horizon Zero Dawn, one had Halo Infinite. They're key franchises. I give the nod to PlayStation 5 because I thought the Miles Morales announcement was very exciting. I haven't played Spider-Man yet. I'm going to be one of those people. Haven't played Spider-Man yet, but I did buy it a couple weeks ago. So it's going to happen on my PS4.
Do it.
And I think I'll enjoy it. But the Miles Morales announcement I thought was really cool. Horizon Zero Dawn, again, a game I haven't played, but I've heard nothing but good things about it, and one day I might. I thought that book ended things really well, showing Ratchet and Clank, and just, I don't know. Insomniac is a really good developer for them, and PlayStation Studios is a great developer, right? They just owned Xbox with first party titles. And the thing I really noticed is Xbox games lack some soul. There, obviously, Xbox One exclusives were really hurt. There were some gems, Ori, Cuphead, that sort of thing. But like when you compare them, Sony just has way better Last of Us and just these games that are just always good. And when they're showcasing their new console with those games, I just think it leads to a Sony win, right? You have those. They had the Demon's Souls remake exclusive, which looks really good, and Ratchet and Clank. They had some really good stuff, but I wouldn't say I loved most of the stuff from PS5. Even though I give the win to PS5, I still am way more likely to get a Series X for the same reasons you said. The Game Pass service is really good, and this showcase made anybody who didn't believe in Game Pass a believer. that all of these games we are showing you, you can just play them for free on Game Pass. And so if you don't like it, you're not out $60. Okay? And I think that was a big win. The other thing is that between the two consoles, if I had to name the top 5 games I'd be excited for, at least 3 of them would be on Xbox, maybe 4. And I'll say that the games I'm most excited for are Echo Generation, which was the little RPG that, it's kind of like Earthboundy that they announced. Easily Hellblade 2, which is probably the game I'm most excited for on the next-gen consoles. It's not a big game, but, definitely there. And then, some combination of like a Psychonauts 2 and, some of these other little games that'll just be interesting to see and tell me why and what might be good. So I would say, and then the other big one, of course, I can't forget from the last one, Scarlet Nexus, which I still love the art direction on that game. It just looks like a platinum game of sorts. It's a Bandai Namco game, but I'm really excited for Scarlet Nexus as well. So I got to give the edge, that and the Game Pass, got to give the edge to the Series X. I'll still say I probably won't buy either system until at least 2022. I still have another year and a half to enjoy my Xbox One, but we'll say 2-1 Xbox beats PS5. But between the 3 of us, I think it sounds like we're most excited about picking up the Series X, right?
Yeah. For me,
either way I go, you can't go wrong. I mean, it's just an exciting time to be into gaming.
That's true.
What a time to be alive. Do you guys see Nick, if tomorrow you picked up a Series X and you had all these games on Game Pass, do you see that really impacting your Switch in any way? Do you see the Switch getting a little dusty?
No, because for me, so if they were all available and let's just say all these games are available too, right? So this is probably going to be the console I play when everybody goes to bed. It's not going to be the console that I break out with Noah to play games on or anything like that. It's going to be down here where I podcast in the basement. And when everybody goes to bed, I got some extra time, I'll just hop on and play some. But during the day, I will probably play those Nintendo family-friendly awesome games with Noah, and and he will be none the wiser that I have this awesome system down here. That is exactly my plan. So no, I don't think it will affect my Switch.
Nick, I was unaware that Waifu Uncovered was being ported to Series X. I'll have to go get that information.
Series X is going to be your After Dark console.
Amen. That's right. You totally nailed it. That's exactly what it's going to be.
It pisses Drew off when I start talking about what I was playing on my Xbox. He keeps calling me a cheater and all that stuff. And it's I'm going to kind of continue just a little bit. I don't know. What else? Any final comments before we go? To both of you who were talking about the price of games just a moment ago, if I could break your hearts for a second, they did announce games are taking the jump up to $70 MSRP for this next gen. So that in fact adds, I think, even more value to Game Pass. The fact that they're $10 more out the gate, and that's going to vary based on publisher and the size of the studio. Your smaller indie titles will probably have a lower price tag for the most part, but I'm talking about the bigger AAA releases, your Halos, your Forzas and whatnot. They're probably going to clock in at around 70, base price, and then who knows what it's going to be for the special editions above that. I did hear some publishers are still going to be 60. I think we're going to see a lot more variance. Yeah, I mean, even today, we see games that are 60. We never really see anything more than 60 unless it's coming with content. But you see a lot of 60, and then you see 50. I mean, when XCOM, those 2K games came out, they were at 50.
Okay.
I've seen 40, 30, 20, 15, 10. It's such a variance. But yeah, the big AAA titles, I think you're right. They're mostly going to be $70. And the Game Pass value just increases with that. That's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be. And a lot of these consoles, too, I'm noticing are becoming a little more complicated. We already see the difference in game software where, like you said, it's free on Game Pass. DLC costs this much, or you can buy 4 versions of this game. Remember when Starlink came out? There was like 4 versions, and you get different ships and all that.
I got so hosed on Starlink. So hosed. I was the first adopter. So hosed.
And then it was $5 at Best Buy.
Like 3 months later.
I hate that. That's why I love console games. I know they'll work on my hardware. I don't need to think about my video card or how it's going to perform with this particular model, right? And I kind of hate that they're getting a little bit more complicated. And that's probably why I stick with Nintendo more. It's just easier. I just want to pick up Paper Mario. I don't want to make it too complicated. But I think it's going to get more complicated in a world where these games are $70, and maybe they want to offer something a little lower cost or something. So I'm a little worried about that. I think we're going to see some differences.
I think one other thing that I worry about slightly is storage capacity, right? So
you stole it. That's exactly where I was going to go. Yeah, 100%.
Well, I won't harp on that too long in case you want to add something to it. But, current generations, we're seeing a terabyte. We're hearing that Series X and PlayStation 5 is going to be 1 terabyte base out the gate. And, perhaps they'll give us upgraded models in the future, but they also have both advertised that they're going to have the add-in expansion slots where PS5, and this is all right, this is interesting, right? Xbox is all about choice for their services, but then when it comes to their expandable port for additional SSD storage, it's a proprietary drive. So it's like you buy their brand, their whatever they made for this custom, you have to buy that one specific kind, which I cannot imagine is going to be cheap. But then PS5 is more like, yeah, here's a list of compatible ones. You can go get whichever ones you want. So that's really interesting to me. But, I'm going to have to figure or kind of factor that into the decision to purchase, the next one, because a terabyte really doesn't go very far these days. I have a 4 terabyte external connected to my Xbox One X now, and when you have services like Game Pass where everything is available to you, and you can just kind of consume all that your bandwidth will let you, right? You got to have a place to put it. So that's just another slight concern, is how much extra is it going to cost to add on that expandable storage. So Nick, if you got anything else to say, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. So, I mean, I bought a terabyte drive for my cousin for his Xbox One, and like it was 2 months later, and he's like, "Yeah, I gotta go get another one." And I was like, "What? I just bought you one." And he's like, "Yeah, well, that one's full." And so it's like, man, it's coming with a terabyte. I mean, you're right. So they say it's true. When I open my console, I will have all these games available to me. I live in rural Michigan, so the next morning when I wake up, I might be able to play some of these games after it's downloaded on my console, right? So there are some downsides to this. Now, that's not to say that physical is much different, because you're still going to have large patches on a lot of these games. But yeah, I am going to be. I mean, I know about it because of friends who have Xboxes, and I obviously keep up with the industry. But yeah, no, my eyes are about to be open first person, I'm sure, when I start. I'm like, holy crap, what happened to my terabyte of space that I once had? So I'm very interested and a little trepidatious about what that's going to be like when I start downloading stuff.
And Nick, I'll finish it up by saying that is no joke. Like the first day I got onto Game Pass, I was like, I want Witcher 3, I want Bloodstained, I want this, I want that, I want this. And then it was like, your drive is half full. And it was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, I have a 200, I think I have a 250 gigger in my Switch. And it usually stays pretty open. And I was like, oh, I doubled that space just downloading a few games. So it goes really quick. But yeah.
Us Nintendo people are on Discord like, oh, that's 30 gigs? I'm not downloading that. That's 30 gigs.
Yeah, forget it. Yeah,
laughs in terabytes.
They're huge. They're huge. All right, well, let's wrap this up. I think we might have exceeded our PS5 show. It's just so much fun to talk about these launches. I can't wait for the holidays. I can't wait to know the prices. I can't wait to know the launch dates, the launch titles. It's gonna be so much fun.
For sure.
All right. Well, I just can't get over I can't get over how long we do these shows, but they're.
I just thank you for not doing it at midnight again.
I know it was much sooner. Well, we want to thank the Nintendo Dads for letting us be a part of their Nintendo Dads family of podcasts, of which there are many. You can subscribe to the Dads After Dark show. Hear me and my normal co-host Drew of JRPG fame. You can download the podcast in all our favorite podcast apps, and we are on YouTube. If you're a Nintendo Dads patron, come to the Discord. It's a fun place. The Dads After Dark channel is I think one of the only ones marked not safe for work, and there's lots of pictures of boobies. So enjoy a good time. I'm going to be playing Waifu Uncovered this week. There's going to be lots of pictures and videos, guys. So join us in the Dads After Dark channel, and let's chat. We also have the monthly Mayhem that Drew and I host. And this month is going to be Paper Mario and Donkey Kong Country. And for the first time, you can play either one and get a maximum score. You can pick either one. It is not an alternative game. So pick what you want to play. If you don't want to play Paper Mario and you love Donkey Kong Country, go for it. You can also follow us on Twitter at NDadsAfterDark. Send us some questions. We'll go over them. We'll read your questions. We'll answer them. You'll get the best answers you've ever gotten in your life. You won't even believe it. We'll be back next weekend, August 2nd, for our regular show. For Nick and Bryan, thanks, guys, for coming back on.
Thanks for having me.
We loved having you guys. We love the excitement for the Xbox. Who knows the next time we talk about a non-Nintendo system? Maybe they'll get launched on the same day, and we'll just have a little update show, a little comeback. Yeah. All right, dads, everyone out there, good night.